just had a tripod. The pair of shorts works too.
Yeah, whatever gets it done. So yeah, I've broken 2 U basses. One was at Gathering of the Vibes. You know, like we played our set and we partied that night, and it was awesome. We had a great time. We're leaving the next day, and I'm walking all my stuff from the campsite over to the van, and I lay my Federa down. I lay my U bass down. My other stuff next to the van. We're opening the van. We're putting everything in. Tired, barely slept, right? Mm-hmm. And I open the door, get in the front seat, drive away, back up, and I hear crunch. No. And immediately I'm like, oh yeah, the U bass that was laying on the wheel and is now under the van. That's exactly what that is. I came out demolished. Completely demolished. No way you could fix it.
So you're playing Radiohead at this pervert's festival.
Jeez, when you put it like that, I did not see it coming. We had an acoustic set where I'm playing my banjo bass, my ukulele bass, and a bunch of weird stuff. And I didn't have stands at this festival, so I had all my basses on the ground, and I was, playing a song with this bass, and then had to put it down. I had one stand, so I put that on the stand, and I bent down to go pick up the U bass, and I just stepped on it, and it was plugged in and just crunched through the PA. The crowd is like, oh, yeah, it was bad. My girlfriend at the time was in the crowd too, so it was very embarrassing.
Oh my god, jeez.
Yeah, so I've broken 2 U basses, Tyrion 1 and Tyrion 2.
I think I'm not the only one that, it's legitimately stressed out when I see you carrying your Federa to a waterfall.
Yeah, I know. Lots of people do. I
also respect it though. I'm on your side.
Well, it honestly, it ties into just kind of who I am. Music is so much a part of my life, and my dad's a musician. I grew up around it, and I just love playing so much, and I really love playing outside. Growing up, my dad would sit outside all day when it was nice out, practice all day on our stoop in Queens. There's no musicians around even, but he felt the need to go outside, and even though it was a little bit weird in the neighborhood we were in, just sit outside and play.
What did he play?
Guitar.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, badass guitarist. And when I started playing, I started doing the same thing. So, when he was at work, I was downstairs playing on the porch. And, it's a little nerve-wracking and it's a little strenuous, and it gets a little dicey sometimes. But I love hiking. I hike all the time. Once you're actually doing it, it looks a lot more precarious than it is. And then once you're at the waterfall, or you're at the top of the mountain, or wherever it is that you're setting up shop, you're like, thank God I have my favorite instrument in the world, and I get to play in front of this amazing view, this amazing vibe, and I come up with some of my best ideas like that. So, look. It might happen one day where I trip and I drop my bass and it might mess it up, it might happen, but I don't really see another way. I don't want to not play in the places where I want to play.
Yeah.
And I'm a little rough around the edges, and I'm a little dingy. My bass is a little dingy, that's the juice is worth the squeeze,
Yeah, Ferraris are meant to be driven.
That's exactly. Well, when I picked up this bass, they said, be careful with it, but not too careful. I think I went a little bit more towards the not too careful with it, but it's an extension of me, and I get to play it everywhere, and the risk versus reward, I focus on the reward, and it's unbelievable.
And if you mess it up, I know a guy that's sponsored by Federa.
Oh yeah, do you?
Yeah, cool. I can get you in contact with him.
Yeah, please do. I bet he's handsome.
Yeah, I have my MIDI bass that's my custom that I put money down, and then a year and a half later it was ready, and I'd never played one. There haven't even been 100 of them that have been built. So it was crazy to import this thing for $3,500 from Ireland. I've never even played.
Am I gonna hate this thing?
What if it sucks? What if it stinks?
Yeah.
And it's just a gimmicky thing. And it is a gimmicky thing, but it's my gimmicky thing.
Right.
I actually
well, it's only a gimmicky thing if you use it as a gimmicky thing. You know, you could do all sorts of cool stuff on it.
And it was interesting to hear you guys talk, and Gabe said, like, he got his synth guitar, and that same day he was playing it on the set, and then it sounded like shit, but then, like growing it, and I think I might be having a change of heart. I might just have to start, like, not thinking about it and just throwing it in.
Well, because think about it. If you don't do that, when are you going to do it? You know, like, you know, we might dial it and we might say we're going to get it up to a point, and we might actually follow through with it. But Gabe and I are very similar in that way, where it's like you have to be uncomfortable and you have to get over that uncomfortability. And the quicker you can do that, the more you'll start, you know, the creative part of it will start bearing fruit. You know, and if you're not if you're too timid to eat shit in front of a crowd, well, then you shouldn't be performing. You know, I mean, like, that's what it's about. Well, I guess I'm also very much of the opinion, like, I would much rather see an imperfect performance from someone I love than, like, a super dialed in whatever. Minus Opeth. When I saw Opeth, they murdered it and they were completely dialed in. That was one of the coolest things. But generally speaking,
for the common man.
For the common, and we share that kind of ethos of just, like, get in there, be reactive, figure it out, you know, laugh at it if it sucks, and, you know, learn something. Next time it'll be a little bit more refined. Next time it'll be a little bit more refined. But you absolutely have to just start doing stuff. You know, that's something I've definitely learned, that if you don't do that, you're just going to be too timid. There are bass players I know, monster bass players that are, like, known out there. People, like, know their name and they're killer players. Recorded a solo album, never put it out. Like, this is like 8 years ago, 9 years ago. I was like, dude, it already was perfect. Dude. You know, and I think it's a similar mentality of just, like, being too careful. You know, like, we have to not just do, you know, wing it, everything.
There's a line,
you know,
but it's hard to find that. I have, like, I think you're aware, I have, like, a terabyte of unreleased electronic music. That, like, I have all these friends, like, from Philly especially, that are, like, cream of the crop, like, huge producers that I look up to, and then I export my track and I listen to it, and then I play something that they made, and I'm like, not there yet. And it's not that I want to sound like them, but it's like there's that quality level.
Quality,
like,
right.
I don't want to put out something that's bad, but it's also been 2.5 years of me saying I'm going to put something out. And at what point am I just like, I'm getting close. I have stuff now, and, like, I think I'm at the point in the journey where it's time to put something out, and that it's okay that it might not be everything in the end all, but, like,
right.
It is tough to find that line of, like, holding yourself accountable, but also, like, if you, like, internalize self-hatred, you're never gonna do anything, and then you're the guy that, like, yeah, he's a really good bass player, and it's like, all right, prove it. Or, like, yeah, he makes great music. Well, none of it's released, and then you die.
Yeah.
You blink, and then this is over.
Yeah.
It's really insane.
And also, you know, even, I'm sure that even if you released it now and it wasn't up to the standard that you want, one thing that we found, like, in our trajectory as a band is that there are people who saw us at our earliest shows, and they were raw, and the sound was terrible. And, you know, like, it was not at all what it is now. You know, like, now we're dialed in. We've been dialed in for a long time. We've played a lot. But people love that they got to see the early times, where it was, like, more raw, and they saw the process. They saw it develop into something, you know, especially in this scene. It's people feel like a certain level of, like, I shouldn't say ownership, but, like, you know, camaraderie, maybe something like that, where, like, when they like a band and they've seen you from the beginning, and maybe they've, like, met you and talked to you, or maybe even become friends with you, and they saw, like, you were doing that, and now 3 years later you're doing this, it's so much more refined and whatever. 10 years later you're, like, a master at it and you're totally killing it. But also, a lot of the times you have to be in front of people to really see, like, if you're marinating in your own music for too long, you can't hear it anymore. I really believe that. Like, you're not listening to it with fresh ears. You might already be at the point that you want to be at, but you need someone else to hear it to be like, dude, that was fucking awesome.
That's
You're
mixing
killing it.
to a T. I'll sit for a day and I'll be working on a mix. By the end of the day, it's just a sine wave to me.
Yeah.
It's just like, and It's no longer music, and
Yeah.
it's just a tone.
Yeah.
And like you just end up ruining your mix because your ear fatigue. You're just done.
Well, you've heard my mixes. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's like, and I'll admit it. What I need to do though is like I mix a lot better when I take 5-6 days off from listening to it, and then I can listen to it again when I'm not like stressed out or busy, and I can say, okay, what is it sounding like? And but that same process, that ear fatigue or mental fatigue or whatever, goes with the writing process as well. With our own music, you might listen to something that you recorded the next day and be like, this is dog shit, and then listen to it a week later and be like, wow, that's great. That's like really great.
Or a year, 2 years. You even said like one time, like you guys brought a song back from like 5 years ago or something on your like recent album, where you dug something just way out of the chamber.
Oh yeah.
I love that. Like I'm doing that now. There's one song that I've been working on. I've recorded it with like 5 different groups of people. I've changed the lyrics. I've changed the tempo. I've changed pretty much everything except for the core that I can. Still sucks, but there's something there.
Yeah.
I don't care if it takes me 3 decades.
Yeah.
I'm not putting that out until it's ready. And like that one I know, like it can get somewhere, and I'm not afraid to let it sit and marinate for as long as it needs.
Yeah, it'll it's incubating. It hasn't found the stuff to make it grow yet into what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mono Means One. There's one of the songs that is on it that I wrote it when I was like 21.
Which one?
So the song is called The Ghost Is You, and the whole middle section of it, it's a longer song, and the middle section of it, total scene change. I wrote that on a Tascam recorder when I was like 20 or 21 or something like that. And I introduced it to the guys and Consider the Source like shortly after that, and we jammed on it, and then we got sidetracked and started working on some other stuff and never got back around to it. It wasn't really working there anyway. And then I had it exactly in my head a certain way for years, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to record it exactly that way. And I was like, okay, this is the project that it belongs to, like 15 years later or something like that. It doesn't usually take that long for it to reach the surface, but...
I mean, I think it's kind of like it's a common theme throughout like doing anything like what we do, like anything creative or anything that takes like a risk of some sort, where a lot of it is just like, I firmly believe, staying committed. Like the amount of people that like have a moment where they freak out and they get out.
Yeah.
And like it's like a stream, and once you're out, like you're out. And I've had so many people tell me like the warning of like some older guy, it's like, I played when I was younger.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Don't stop.
Yeah.
Because next thing you know, you've got a family of 10 and you're living on a farm, and you're a lawyer or something, and then you regret it, and it's like, oh my God. But I think it's like a little exaggerated, but yeah. It's the same with straight up becoming a successful musician or artist or whatever, like commitment and seeing it through. If you really believe that there's going to be a success for you in it and that it's your thing, like you have to keep going. And the same with like a song you're writing, like you have to just remain there and ready for it, even if at the time you get the idea but then it sucks and you're like, I have a concept album that I wrote when I was 17, but I knew I wasn't good enough to make it good yet. Like I was just figuring things out.
There's seeds in it.
But it's there, and I think about it like once every 6 months I pull it out and I'm like, I do a little work here and then like put it back away because you're gonna get there.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. It's just remaining available for it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And also, I like to think of it in terms of like if you're into art, right, and you look at any artist's like work from whatever age they started getting known to their death, you'll see a lot of similarities in their works. Like Salvador Dali is a great example, right? He has the melting clocks, and he has the elephants with the long legs, and he has like the guy holding his daughter's hand in the background wearing a hat, So you'll see those in so many of his paintings. And it's not like any of them are like the best one or the worst one or anything like, Persistence of Memory is like his most famous melting clock one, right? But it doesn't mean it's necessarily his best. That's the one that we know. But you could see it as like a motif he's working through. He's like, there's something cool about this. I'm going to put it here. I think it would work perfectly right here. Also, in this other piece, it would be the perfect addition to this one. You can almost see him working through an idea over time and trying to have it achieve its ultimate form, or just maybe even less than that, just like seeing what it can do to another piece of work. There's a band I love, the Bad Plus, my favorite band in the world, and the bass player in that band is one of my favorite bassists and composers, and he writes all my favorite songs in the band. But you hear him play those same compositions in other projects, and it's still amazing, but it doesn't have the same impact for me as it does in the Bad Plus. So there's also something to that, where like you can write a song and it could exist in one realm, but you could also write it for a band, and you can write it for an orchestra, or you can, create an electronic version of it.
Yeah.
And it could be all these different versions, and they're all kind of like telling you something, highlighting something else about it.
Yeah, I specifically Goodbye Blue Sky, your cover the other day,
Oh yeah.
sent me. I was like, this is so sick. Oh my god.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, that was awesome. That's
Yeah, I
a
love
clear
that
example
song.
of that. It's the same like composition. It's not a different song, but it's a complete different delivery system.
Gotta stay hydrated.